Hello listeners, welcome back to Luke's English podcast. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing well. So this is a bonus episode and it's all about the FIFA World Cup 2026. This is a preview of the upcoming Football World Cup and a kind of football Megaramble. I'll be talking about football and the World Cup for the foreseeable future, for however long this takes. There's a PDF available for this bonus episode, which you will find linked in the description. And we're going to start with a disclaimer, okay? This is a bonus midweek episode all about the Football World Cup 2026. If you are not a football fan, please feel free to skip this episode, okay? I think this will be the first in a short series of bonus episodes over the next few weeks about the World Cup, which I will upload in addition to the normal episodes that you get from me. So these World Cup episodes are in addition to the normal run of this podcast. So you'll keep getting normal episodes every Monday, but then sometimes I'll upload another bonus episode during the World Cup and maybe another one at the end. So we might end up with 2, 3, possibly 4 World Cup episodes, but bonus episodes in addition to your normal podcast content. I love the World Cup. And I like to do World Cup episodes when the tournament is happening. Long-term listeners might remember all the different World Cups that I've covered on this podcast in the past. About football, I don't actually support a local team in England, but I've always been most excited about World Cup football, and every 4 years when the World Cup comes around, I get that sense of World Cup fever. And I feel like I am a 13-year-old boy again with his Panini sticker album, collecting stickers, swapping stickers in the playground at school and trying to complete all the different teams and all that stuff. I just absolutely loved it. So World Cup football is my favourite type of football. However, I know this is not for everyone because plenty of you are not interested in football, and I don't want to pause my normal episode schedule in order to exclusively do episodes about football during June and July. I want to keep uploading episodes normally on Mondays, and I have a lot in the pipeline, but I also want to do episodes about the World Cup, even just 2 or 3. So these are going to be bonus episodes released midweek between normal episodes and also premium episodes. So it might seem like a busy time in your LEP podcast feed as quite a lot of episodes arrive over the next few weeks, especially if you're a premium subscriber, because you already get quite a lot of stuff. So it might seem busy, but if you're into football and the World Cup, then I hope you join me and also get involved with your comments, which I can respond to in later episodes. I would love for you to comment on these episodes, right? I've got various questions for you to answer coming up. But one more time, if you're not interested in the football, then as I said, please feel free to just walk on by and skip this episode. And on Monday, there will be another normal episode on a completely different topic. In fact, Monday's episode will be me reading from a diary I wrote while I was travelling in Vietnam. So there's a sneak preview for Monday's episode, a sort of travelling diary reading ramble. Right, so here's the proper introduction then for this episode after I've now done that disclaimer, right? So I suppose that the only people left listening to this now are the ones who like football and like the World Cup. And if you're not in that football fan category and you've chosen to stick with me anyway, well, let's see if you can perhaps muster up a bit of enthusiasm about the World Cup this year. So, in this first bonus World Cup 2026 episode of Luke's English podcast, I'm going to do these things. So I'm going to do a preview of the tournament. I'm going to talk about the teams, the favourites, the medium tier ones, and the very small teams who rarely make it. Every single team will be mentioned, and there are a lot this year. I'm going to talk about England, of course. I feel obliged to do that as an obvious England fan, and it's sort of a long-running saga in the real world, but also on this podcast, as I've covered every England tournament to some extent on this podcast since I started it in 2009. I'm going to talk about some issues and controversies surrounding the host nation / nations, because it's actually 3, and FIFA as well. Ooh, a bit of politics. And I'm going to talk about some changes that have been brought in for this competition, changes to the game and various other changes. plus any other points for discussion. So it's just me on my own for this, but I think in future episodes of this World Cup series, I might be joined by guests for conversation. I'm recording this on the 2nd of June 2026 and probably publishing it on the 4th of June 2026. So that is about a week, right? About a week before the World Cup kicks off on Thursday, June the 11th, 2026, and concludes on Sunday, July the 19th, 2026. So how are you feeling about the World Cup at this point? Are you getting World Cup fever yet? Are you getting excited about it yet, or not so much? Yeah, but this is early June, 2nd/4th of June, and some things might happen between now and then. I mean, now and the kickoff for the World Cup. I don't know what's going to happen in the next week, but things might happen that render all this information redundant, such as players getting injured, geopolitical stuff. So who knows, things might have completely changed by the time the World Cup actually begins, but this is just how things stand right now at the start of June, about a week before kickoff, right? So this is the 23rd World Cup, and question for you, are you still able to keep up with recent World Cup history? Are you able to keep up with World Cup history, recent World Cup history? When you think back at, let's say, the last 4 or 5 World Cups, can you remember them distinctly? Do you have a clear sense of each competition since, let's say 2002? Can you name each World Cup since 2002? Tell me where they were hosted, who got to the final, who won, and some of the memorable things that happened at each one. Are you able to do that? And in your opinion, has the World Cup changed in your mind, in your lifetime? And the last few World Cups, what's been the general atmosphere and vibe of World Cups recently? And what about this one? And so is this World Cup more or less exciting than previous ones? I kind of wonder if maybe there's a little sense of lack of expectation. I feel like things are not quite as exciting as previous years. Is that because it's being hosted in the United States, Canada and Mexico, and particularly the United States is a very sort of controversial place at the moment. It's a place where perhaps people are not very excited about going. People are worried about the prices of tickets and lots of other peripheral things. This could be the most profitable World Cup in history. And certainly FIFA will make a lot of money. The United States will probably make a lot of money, and various corporations there will probably make a lot of money. Canada, Mexico, I should also include them completely in this. But also, again, referring to the United States, is this a place that people are enthusiastic about going to and visiting at the moment? Lots of complicated things, but what's the general feeling of the World Cup this year for you? And do you have a clear memory of recent World Cups? For me, my memories of recent World Cup history have become blurred in recent years, probably because I'm getting old. So I can remember each World Cup I experienced in my life quite clearly, and remember where I was during the final. And I'm talking about between the years of 1986 and 2006. I can remember all of those World Cups really clearly, and I can remember where I was, literally where I was while watching the games. And I'm showing my age there, but there it is. Then after about the year 2006, things start to get a bit blurry. So here's a little catch up for you. Here's a summary of the FIFA World Cup tournaments since 2006. So 2006 was won by Italy. They beat France on penalties in the final, and the most memorable thing probably about the final was the Zidane headbutt, the infamous headbutt on Marco Materazzi in Zidane's final match of his international career, which was quite an extraordinary way to go out. But everyone remembers the headbutt, and of course it was a shocking moment and something not acceptable, terrible thing to do in front of so many people watching, not a very dignified way to end his international career. But on the other hand, there was that feeling of like, but it was a pretty good headbutt, wasn't it? I mean, it was quite impressive. bam, and the guy just fell straight down to the floor. But what a way to end a career. So in Germany, Italy won. Zidane did their headbutt. England got knocked out on penalties, of course. I watched the final for that one in my flat in Ealing in London with a Polish friend called Marek, who randomly turned up at my apartment and brought Polish beers, and we watched the game together. Then 2010, where was it hosted? It was hosted in, of course, South Africa. It was won by Spain, 1-0, and this was a big moment for Spain, and sort of, I guess, was the beginning of the kind of recent run of great form and great Spanish teams. Spain won their first World Cup in 2010, and this was it was against the Netherlands, a physical and tactical final where Spain cemented their status as a global powerhouse, ending the Netherlands' hopes in extra time. Yes, do you remember the South Africa World Cup? Just the noise of 1 million bees invading each stadium as fans blew into their vuvuzelas, if you remember. It was like trying to watch football while someone mowed the grass directly outside your window. Spain beat the Netherlands to win the World Cup for the first time. England lost awfully in the second round to Germany, and justice was served in the form of a blatant goal by Frank Lampard that was disallowed. Do you remember that? He kicked the ball, it hit the bar, and it hit the crossbar and then bounced down like a good yard inside the goal and then bounced out, and the referee said it was not a goal. He disallowed it, which is a form of ironic justice because, of course, in the World Cup final of 1966, Geoff Hurst scored a similar goal, but the ball bounced on the other side of the line, hit the crossbar, came down, bounced on the outside of the goal, and then away, and the referee gave it as a goal, and then England won the World Cup. So a bit of ironic justice there. I don't really remember the final, I'll be honest. I remember watching England get destroyed by Germany while sitting in the garden at my parents' place. We had brought a TV out with an extension lead and put the TV on a chair, and we sat in the garden and watched it. And I was with my wife, who I had only met a few months before. So my wife, me, and my parents watched this game, and it was just the most awful defeat by England. And it was my wife's first experience of the sorrow of being an England fan at the World Cup. She'd never quite experienced that before. Although as a French fan, she'd had her fair share of problematic World Cups too, but not quite to the extent as England, I think. 2014, of course, was in Brazil. It was won by Germany. And maybe the most memorable thing about this one, I'm afraid, for Brazilian fans, this might be a painful memory, is, of course, the moment when Germany thrashed Brazil 7-1 in the semi-finals. Brazil got thrashed. That's a nice word. To thrash someone, to get thrashed. To thrash a team means to beat them really well. You know, like 7-1. That is an absolute thrashing. So Brazil got thrashed 7-1 by Germany. Sorry for the reminder, Brazilian listeners. And it was actually painful to watch, and I nearly cried. I think maybe I did cry. I had to go off into the toilet and then just have a little cry as I watched it was like, I don't know. It just, there was something almost painful about it. And you could see the German team were almost like looking at each other going, oh, should we maybe not score any more goals? This is too much. But the Germans had a terrific young team. England were rubbish and came bottom of their group, which was shameful and absolutely terrible. 2018 was hosted in Russia. And of course, this was when France won. They beat Croatia. England did all right this time. This was during the Gareth Southgate years. And we got to the semi-finals where we were beaten by Croatia. Even if, to be fair, England were lucky to get the less challenging team at each step. But we did okay overall. I remember the unbelievable noise from the bars and cafes outside our flat when France won I recorded it with a microphone and played it on the podcast, if you remember. 2022 was in Qatar. Argentina won it. Lionel in English we would say Lionel Messi finally won the World Cup and was able to lift the trophy. Mbappe scored an incredible hat-trick in the final, but it wasn't quite enough. 2022 is widely regarded as one of the greatest finals ever, featuring a back-and-forth battle between Argentina and France, culminating in an emotional coronation for Lionel Messi. Messi did the job for Argentina over France. England got knocked out by France in the quarter-finals. I'm pretty sure I was in bed suffering with a horrible flu at the time. If you remember, this took place in winter, this World Cup. I had flu at the time and I was in bed and the match was going on in the next room and I could kind of vaguely follow it. But I felt absolutely appalling lying in bed, and it was made infinitely worse by the football result, England getting knocked out by France. England were not bad though, quite promising again under Gareth Southgate. So I want to talk now. I have to get this off my chest, being an England fan. All right, now here are some things I have to say about being an England fan. The first thing is that I think nobody likes England. Maybe some countries, maybe like our kit, like our uniform, our football kit. But I think, especially in Europe, nobody really likes England. We're twats. I mean, the fans are hooligans, or we're drunken idiots. There's the historical colonial thing, the fact that we are historical bad guys with this still quite superior vibe, as if we are sponsored by the king or something. We're all dressed up nice and smart in our fancy white uniforms, but the team is underwhelming and often quite boring, despite our Premiership being the most popular club league. I say that we're unpopular, but then again, I think that people like the players. I think people are often excited by the players. You know, people talk about Jude Bellingham, Harry Kane, these great players. But the team as a whole, and especially the supporters, are often bottom of the list when it comes to popularity, right? We've got that song, It's Coming Home, it's coming home, it's coming, football's coming home. And nobody understands this song. No one gets it. People think it's a kind of flag-waving thing that, England are the best, you know, we're going to win. That's not really what it's about. The thing is that in England, we think that we invented football. And the song was first written for when we hosted the Euros in 1996. That's when the song was first written. And we were hosting the Euros. And so as we were hosting it, and because we feel like we invented it, or at least wrote the rule book, in 1996, we thought that football was coming home, right? Because it was coming back to its home nation. But also the song is actually about the pain of being an England fan. It's all about disappointment and pain, but still holding on to hope despite all the pain and the misery of 30 years of hurt. It's actually 60 years of hurt now, isn't it? It's not the sort of super patriotic thing about how we're the best. In fact, it's kind of not that at all. And the song was written by a couple of comedians. Another thing is that England are cursed. It feels like we're cursed. Maybe less so in the last few years, but we always seem to underperform and disappoint at major tournaments and get knocked out in devastating fashion, usually on penalties. In fact, here is a brief history of England getting knocked out of things on penalties just for fun, just for your entertainment. So, England have been knocked out of major international competitions, that's World Cups and Euros, on penalties a total of 7 times. So, in the 1990 World Cup, in the semi-final against West Germany, we were knocked out on penalties. Stuart Pearce and Chris Waddle were the ones who ended up crying at the end of that match. Euro 1996 semi-final against, guess who? That's right, Germany, knocked out on penalties again. This time it was Gareth Southgate who let the side down. 1998, just 2 years later, in the round of 16 against Argentina, we got knocked out on penalties again, with Paul Ince and David Batty failing to score. Then in Euro 2004, the quarter-final against, guess who? No, Portugal this time. We got knocked out by Portugal, again, on penalties. David Beckham failed to score. Then, just 2 years later, in the World Cup, quarter-final, knocked out again on penalties. By who? That's right, Portugal again. And 3 of our players failed to score. Lampard, Gerrard, Carragher, all of them failed to score. Another traumatic knockout on penalties. But we're not finished there. Euro 2012, quarter-final against Italy. Again, knocked out on penalties. And then Euro 2020, which was played in 2021. In the final, we were defeated again by Italy on penalties. So 7 times. What is going on? Now, we've won maybe 1 or 2 penalty shootouts also in that run. But that is a terrible record of penalty shootout defeats. But what are we complaining about anyway, England fans? We often complain or moan or whinge that we are suffering. But what are we complaining about, really? We've won it once. We've got one of those little stars. We've won it once. We've reached the semi-finals recently and came 4th in 2022. And in, living memory in 1990, some clubs have never won and are lucky to get out of the group stages. Even like some top-level teams, like the Netherlands, for example, they've been in 2 finals and they're an excellent team with history, but they've never won it. Sorry, Dutch Lepsters. For England, I think it's because of the level of expectation, which actually crushes most teams when the pressure is on. It's expectation from the fans, which seems to work against us. But we have a new manager, a German guy called Thomas Tuchel. Is it Tuchel or Tuchel?
Thomas Tuchel has named his England.
Thomas Tuchel. It's Tuchel. So, a new German manager for England called Thomas Tuchel. Yes, England managed by a German. What has happened to the world? Everything's gone upside down. But it's not the first time we've been managed by a foreign manager. We had a Swede in the form of Sven-Göran Eriksson and an Italian in the form of Fabio Capello. Both of them failed to deliver. I think Capello had a worse time than Eriksson. But Tuchel has made shock squad announcements with certain star players left at home, and the internet has been on fire with responses to his selection, with lots of criticism for leaving out players like Foden and Maguire, who, talented players, stars in their own right, who I think probably a lot of people expected to have guaranteed places on the team, but these people have been left out completely from the squad, and Tuchel has faced quite a lot of criticism for this. Personally, I don't really care. I think he's prioritising team dynamics and form over individual merit. I think that Tuchel is probably the best manager we've had for a long time, based on his track record. England have been good, or England were good, let's say, under Southgate, but he was actually a kind of stand-in manager who got the job eventually. He was just supposed to be an interim manager. But maybe Tuchel can go a step further than Southgate and actually whip this team into shape and apply all of his experience and expertise. So let's talk a little bit about Thomas Tuchel, or Tommy Tuchel, as we might call him, or Tom Tuchel, TT, Tommy T, little Tommy T. T-Dog. Let's talk about him. Right, so Thomas Tuchel is a highly decorated German football manager. What is he, a Christmas tree? He's highly decorated, meaning that he's won lots of trophies and things like that. It doesn't mean that he is actually decorated himself like a Christmas tree. But yeah, apparently, according to Wikipedia, he is a highly decorated German football manager who took charge of the England men's senior team on the 1st of January 2025. And if you look at the PDF, you will see a picture of Thomas Tuchel, a highly decorated football manager. You can see the various trophies that he's won, decorating him, and he looks very nice as a lovely Christmas tree. Anyway, we do say decorated for a Christmas tree. You can also say that a person is decorated if they've won lots of trophies and awards and things like that. Maybe a military general could be decorated as well. Because they do look very pretty, don't they, military generals, with all their little like baubles and decorations that they hang on them. Anyway, so Tuchel's appointment marked a significant shift in English football as he became only the third non-English manager in the history of the national team. Here's some key background and career highlights for Tuchel. Elite experience. Tuchel is widely regarded as one of the best tactical minds in modern football. Before taking the England job, he managed some of Europe's biggest clubs, including Borussia Dortmund, Paris Saint-Germain, Chelsea and Bayern Munich. Major honours. His trophy cabinet is extensive. I love the way they talk about success in football. We talk about trophies and trophy cabinets being replete with silverware. Silverware means trophies. His trophy cabinet is extensive and full of silverware, most notably highlighted by his 2021 UEFA Champions League victory with Chelsea. By the way, listeners, as you listen to this episode, notice the incredible language that we use to talk about football. There is some really wonderful, descriptive, chunky language that we use here. And it's not just reserved for talking about football. You can use a lot of these phrases, these expressions, little idioms to talk about many other things too. But it's interesting the way that we get descriptive and get serious with our language when we talk about this game. And I think there are parallels with the way that language is used to talk in this robust way about football and the way that language is used to talk in a robust way about business, about sales, about management, about leadership and things like that. So notice the language that we use as we go through this. So major honours. I've mentioned that already, his silverware. He's also won league titles in both France and Germany, as well as domestic cups, a plethora of European silverware. The transition. After leaving Bayern Munich in 2024, that would be a good name for an orchestra, right, based in Munich, Bayern Music. Anyway, after leaving Bayern Munich in 2024, he was appointed as the permanent successor. What's wrong with my voice today? First thing in the morning. He was appointed as the permanent successor to Gareth Southgate. He signed an 18-month contract initially, which was extended in February 2026 to run through to UEFA Euro 2028. So we've got him for the World Cup and Euro 2028. International staff. He is supported by English assistant coach Anthony Barry, with whom he previously worked during his time at Chelsea. That is a good sign. His staff around him are English people, and that's really important for the general the way that he liaises with the players, that the team around him are also English, and he's got lots of experience working with English teams and English players. This is a contrast to Fabio Capello from Italy, who didn't speak English very well and who used an Italian team around him. And there was a schism between the management and the team. It got really bad. In fact, what was it? During the 2010 World Cup? Was that the one? It got really, really bad. And there was definitely a split between the team and the management, and it didn't fuse very well at all. But this looks different. In terms of his management style and tactical approach, tactical flexibility. Tuchel is known for his ability to adapt his formations and tactics based on the opponent. So he will make strategic changes based on what the other team are doing. He is recognised for his focus on high-intensity pressing, positional play and structured defensive organisation. Pressing is one of those words that we use a lot these days in football when referring to strategy and what the team is doing. So what does it mean to press or to play a high press? Pressing essentially is when the opposing team get possession of the ball and then your team apply a lot of pressure to those opposing players, often fairly deep into the deep up the pitch. For example, let's say you've just attacked goal and you didn't succeed. The opposing team got possession of the ball. That's when, let's say England in this case, have to press the other team and they apply pressure. They try to tackle, win possession instantly and apply pressure not just when defending their goal, but all through the pitch, right? This is called pressing, attempting to gain possession all the way through the pitch, not just when you're defending your goal, which is good. This is what we need. This is what England definitely needs to do, because in recent tournaments, it's been frustrating watching England give other teams space and not press, control and dominate the pitch. Experience with English players. Tuchel has a deep familiarity with the English game, having managed numerous England internationals such as Harry Kane, Mason Mount and Reece James at his previous clubs. Tuchel is known for his meticulous attention to detail and demanding personality. It's funny how English journalists and commentators can't help using certain stereotypical adjectives for describing German things. It's like the press, the media, can't let go of the sort of German stereotypes, and they always describe Tuchel as being efficient, right? Efficient, meticulous. Words like this are often used like they can't help it. But maybe that is genuinely his style. He is meticulous and efficient and has a demanding personality where he requires a high level of focus and performance from his players. These are all very good signs, I have to say. Tuchel is often viewed as a win now manager. Okay, like when shall we win, boss? Well, now. Win now. What now? Should we win? Let's win later. No, we win now. A win now manager who brings a disciplined and rigorous approach to the training pitch and the dressing room. I bet England still get knocked out in the first round, though, somehow on penalties. That's just always what happens. The England challenge. So Tuchel's primary goal is to guide the England team to success on the international stage, with his tenure heavily focused on the 2026 World Cup in North America. His appointment was a strategic move by the Football Association to secure a manager with a proven track record of winning major silverware and handling high-pressure elite environments. I mean, they make him sound like James Bond. You know, he's capable of handling high-pressure elite environments. As of early 2026, he's been credited with overseeing a record-breaking World Cup qualification campaign, solidifying his position as the architect of England's current push for international glory. Nice language, solidifying his position. England looked mostly great during qualification, but we always do that. It's easy to look great when you've got 75% of the possession on average during the qualifying games. England could crumble like a biscuit in a cupboard when we meet a proper team. That's normally what happens. We cruise through qualifying, look fantastic. Everyone starts saying, oh, you know, I think I quite fancy England actually this year. And then we actually meet someone half decent and we crumble like a biscuit in a cupboard. That is probably enough about England now. Let's move on from England. We will be talking about all the other teams in this tournament in this episode. Here are some more questions. So what is this World Cup looking like? What are the main talking points both on and off the pitch? What changes have been made to the game and the competition this time? What are the top countries competing this year? What about the middle tier teams that also pose a threat? What minnows are in the competition? Minnows are little fish, but we use minnows also to talk about little teams in a competition. What is the political backdrop of this year's competition too? So let's continue this mega World Cup football ramble 2026. As we approach the 2026 World Cup, the footballing world is bracing, meaning getting ready, getting prepared for a tournament that is larger in every sense of the word, with the field expanding to 48 teams and the matches spread across 3 countries. The scale is unprecedented. Here is a breakdown of the general predictions and the major talking points currently surrounding the event. So some early predictions and favourites. Recent performance data and betting markets. So betting markets, that's when people gamble and place bets on who's going to win or what's going to happen. And actually the betting markets, so the odds on the likelihood of different teams winning or different outcomes happening, that's quite a good way of assessing predictions for the World Cup. So the betting markets and performance data, as basically how well each individual and each team has performed in the run-up to this competition. All this information suggests a few clear front runners, that's people at the front of the pack, though the expanded format introduces a high degree of chaos potential. So the fact that there's 48 teams means that the likelihood of something chaotic happening is higher. So who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? The 2026 World Cup favourites are defined by a mix of tactical evolution, generational talent and proven tournament pedigree. Yes, pedigree suggests just sort of like a higher standard at an intrinsic level, just quality in the team. We talk about pedigree breeds of dogs. It is a pedigree dog, means a very finely bred dog, but a team with proven tournament pedigree is a team that shows that it's performed very well at tournaments in the past. With the tournament expanding to 48 teams, these nations are viewed as the most stable and formidable options in an increasingly unpredictable field. Here's a breakdown of why these 5 teams, plus more than 5, are currently leading the conversation. So the number 1 favourite this year is Spain, with a 16 to 18% probability of winning, which is actually not that big, but it's the biggest of the lot. 16 to 18% chance of winning this year. That's Spain. Why? Tactical cohesion is the key. Having triumphed at UEFA Euro 2024, Spain has successfully evolved from a rigid, possession-heavy style to a more direct, dynamic approach under manager Luis de la Fuente. So, tactical cohesion. They've got excellent strategy. Tactics and strategy are basically the same thing. Cohesion means that they work together, they stick together. Basically, they have amazing team dynamics. They possess a rare balance between veterans, that's older players with experience, and explosive youth, younger players with tons of energy and talent. Rodri remains the essential anchor in midfield, while the rise of Lamine Yamal has given them an X factor that can unlock any defence. One of the top players in the world, Yamal, and very young. Unpredictable, difficult to deal with, but they also have more experienced players and across the board excellent cohesion as a team. So what about the next favourite? That is France with 12 to 14% probability. Yes, the thing that everyone is saying about France is that they have a lot of depth. They have strength in depth. So we talk about depth on the field and depth in a team. On a field, depth means going deep. For example, if a striker like Harry Kane, if he plays deep, it means he's going all very far up the pitch. That's to play deep in terms of attacking, going really far up the pitch, not the peach. I'd quite like a peach now, actually. I'm a bit hungry, but moving far up the pitch, right? That's playing deep. And teams can play deep or they can play within their own half, play defensively. But also depth in a squad refers to the players that you have available to you. So there's obviously the starting 11, but then you've got other players in your squad that sit on the bench. And when you have a lot of depth in your team, it means even the players sitting on the bench are of very high quality. So the quality stays high through the players on the pitch and the players that you have in reserve. So that is what we call depth in terms of the squad. And France, everyone is saying that France have got a lot of squad depth this year. France is widely considered to have the most plug-and-play talent in the world, which basically means that you can just put them all on, any of them on the pitch, and it's going to be good. Their ability to rotate key positions, that means change the players who are playing in those key positions, for example, from one game to the next to let players rest, Their ability to rotate key positions without a drop in quality makes them a nightmare for opponents to prepare for. Now, everyone says Mbappe, but I think his name is actually pronounced Mbappe. The Mbappe factor, he's now 27 years old, still only 27. He seems to have been around for years, but he's still only 27. And he's captaining the side, so he's the captain. Kylian Mbappe is at the absolute peak of his career. Despite some external debate regarding his leadership style, his ability to single-handedly decide matches remains unmatched. In terms of experience, having reached the final in 2 of the last 3 World Cups, winning in 2018, the squad is seasoned in navigating the extreme pressure of knockout football. They are seasoned, so they are seasoned veterans. They're experienced. Okay? Then in third position, third favourite is amazingly England, with apparently 12 to 13% probability of actually going all the way. The golden generation pressure. The current English squad is viewed as one of the most technically gifted in the country's history, with stars like Jude Bellingham leading the charge, and let's not forget to mention Harry Kane, perhaps the best striker currently on the world stage, one of the highest goal scorers out there, England's leading goal scorer of all time. The guy is an absolute goal machine. So we have these big stars, big talented players, especially up front. Despite this, there is a mounting expectation that this group is finally ready to translate their individual club level success into an international trophy. That's not despite this. This is because of this, right? After years of being labelled a team of near misses, the current narrative is focused on their maturity and the tactical flexibility they've developed to grind out results against top-tier European opposition. Could I say that England are this year's dark horse? Now, if you label a team as the dark horse team, it means this is the team that people don't expect, but could actually win. So that's a dark horse team. So you look at England, you think, no, they always fail, they always disappoint. But maybe England are the dark horse team this year because they've got the new manager, they do have a lot of talent, but we've got some problems. We don't have that much depth, unlike France. We rely very heavily on Harry Kane. If something happens to him, if he gets injured, for example, he could get exhausted. Going all the way through to the final means playing more matches at a World Cup level, at a high pressure level than ever before in history. Will we make it based on the squad that we've got? Anyway, we haven't played a big team recently, and never with this manager. So it's probably the usual story. We'll smash it. We smashed it in the qualifiers and then fall apart under proper pressure, but we will see. Fourth in the list is Argentina with a 9 to 11% probability. Unlike many nations that overhaul their squads every cycle, manager Lionel Scaloni has kept the core of the 2022 championship team together. So it's kind of a lot of the core players from the previous tournament are still there. This consistency with players like Julian Alvarez, Enzo Fernandez and Alexis McAllister now in their prime provides a massive competitive advantage. So again, good team cohesion, a lot of experience, tournament pedigree, and yes, a lot of players who played at the top level in this tournament previously. That is a great advantage. And then there's the Messi legacy. While speculation always surrounds his future, Lionel Messi remains the heartbeat of the team. Argentina plays with a collective protect the crown mentality, using their status as defending champions to fuel a disciplined, high-intensity, tactical approach. Surely they can't be underestimated, especially with Messi playing. How many World Cups has he played in now? Let me know in the comment section. I don't know off the top of my head. And then there's Ronaldo from Portugal, who also is performing this year. I mean, it's extraordinary. These days, players can play so many World Cups, the fitness level. In fifth place, we have Brazil. 8 to 10% probability. The Ancelotti effect under the guidance of experienced manager Carlo Ancelotti, I think that's how you pronounce it. The expectation is that Brazil will shed the defensive volatility that has hampered them in previous tournaments. Ooh, there's some English for you. They will shed, meaning they'll get rid of it. Shed is normally what a snake does when it loses its skin. It sheds its skin. To shed your hair is to kind of get rid of something or remove something that's on you previously. Normally a snake sheds its skin, right? So that's quite a good word. It's in a sense it means remove something or lose something and then kind of come out again fresh and renewed. So the expectation is that Brazil will shed the defensive volatility. Volatility, this means volatile, this means not stable. So if they have not been stable defensively recently, it means there have been weaknesses in their defence. But Brazil are going to get rid of these weaknesses, this inconsistency in defence, which has hampered them in previous tournaments. It's disadvantaged them. If you hamper something, it means you hold it back, disadvantage it in some way. So apparently in recent tournaments, Brazil has been hampered or disadvantaged by having a sort of inconsistent defensive record. But Ancelotti is known for his pragmatic approach and a focus on defence, which fans hope will provide the stability needed to match their traditional attacking flair. So Brazil are always known for being creative and a great attacking team, but when they don't have a strong defence, they can be exposed and they lack stability. But apparently this year, this has been fixed. The team remains deeply committed to their stars, even through adversity. Notably, Ancelotti has publicly reaffirmed his commitment to Neymar as a central leader for this tournament, signalling a focus on veteran leadership to guide a talented but young supporting cast. Let's just see if Neymar is able to, just play football and not just roll around on the floor all the time. Beyond the top five, Portugal and Germany remain critical players in the 2026 World Cup landscape, each carrying distinct narratives regarding their current form, tactical identity and roster challenges. Roster, that means the players that you can select from your bench. Portugal then, so these are not in the top five, Portugal and Germany, but they're contenders. Portugal is a team of extreme depth, apparently. Portugal is often cited as having one of the most stacked rosters in international football, meaning this is another way of saying that they have a lot of strength in depth in their squad. They have a stacked roster. They have a lot of great players on top of each other, as if you've got a storage room and it is stacked, meaning you've got lots of stock in your storage room piled up on top of itself. This is stacked, right? So in the same way that in Portugal's squad, they've got great players, one on top of the other. Their roster, that's their set of available players to choose from, is stacked, meaning they've got a lot of great players in it, leading to a unique internal debate regarding the role of their captain, Cristiano Ronaldo. Basically, it's like, should we build the team around Cristiano Ronaldo, or should we try to broaden the strength of the team with the younger players, bring some younger players in and prioritise them instead of making everything centralised around Ronaldo? At 41 years old, Ronaldo is set for his 6th World Cup. Incredible, isn't it? While his legacy is undeniable, the central debate among analysts and fans is whether Portugal's tactical system, which leans towards high pressing and fluid movement, functions more effectively when the team is built to support that's Ronaldo's, goal scoring, or when it operates with a more dynamic, younger front line. So that's what they have to kind of decide between. And I think that Ronaldo is not necessarily going to play every game. They might keep him on the bench, focus on this dynamic, younger front line, but they've got Ronaldo as this kind of fallback option, this secret weapon kind of thing. He might not play as much football as the younger players, though. Germany then, the quest for redemption. After consecutive group stage exits in 2018 and 2022, Germany enters 2026 under Julian Nagelsmann with the primary objective of restoring their reputation as a tournament powerhouse. And I think you can never underestimate Germany. In terms of recent form, they've shown resilience, qualifying successfully with 5 wins in 6 matches. Nagelsmann has moved the team toward a more pragmatic, defensively solid structure, which is a departure from the risky possession football seen in previous cycles. So maybe they've gone back to a more boring form of football, but maybe this is what they need to do. Chaos potential was mentioned before. The expansion to 48 teams creates a wider, more diverse bracket. So we've got previously 32 teams in the tournament, now 48 teams. This is enormous, and it's a very wide, diverse bracket set of teams. While these 7 teams have the highest probability, the ones I've just mentioned, based on talent and form, the format change means that they face a longer road to the final, so that's an extra game if they want to get all the way to the final, and a higher risk of unexpected upsets from emerging nations. So previously in the World Cup, it's always been the same set of nations that win more or less every time, right? You've got a small pool of teams that win multiple times. It's very difficult for other teams to break into this sort of elite circle of winning teams. But this year might be different. By widening the field to 48 teams, there are more opportunities, there's more potential for surprises and shocks. So what do you think? Does one of these teams' current situation... Okay, let's change that question. That's a terrible question. Which team feels like the biggest wild card to you? Okay, the wild card. This is the unpredictable team. The team that perhaps people haven't identified as being a potential threat. The one that comes out of left field, the one that's no one expects, and the dark horse team, I suppose, is the one. It's a similar word, isn't it? Really, but wild card is kind of unpredictable, and dark horse is just the one that no one's talking about, no one's really expecting anything from, but actually secretly, they could be a huge threat. So, which team do you think is the wild card? Which is the dark horse? I'm going to keep asking you these questions throughout this episode. I want to get your comments and responses. I'm very interested in comments during the World Cup. These are comments that I can share. So give me your perspective. I love football, love World Cup football. I'm not a football expert by any means. A lot of the stuff that I'm reading from, I've taken from various sources. Okay, a lot of it's from Wikipedia articles. I've used Google Gemini to generate some of this information. So I've taken it from various sources. But I'm by no means a sort of expert on football. And of course, I tend to focus on England. So if you can give me input about other teams, your team, please do. Leave your comments in the comments section. Let's move on to the pitch talking points. So discussing the football itself on the pitch. The actual football this year will be defined by a massive structural shift and some last dance narratives. There have been various changes this year which will certainly affect the football. First of all, there is the 48-team format. The move from 32 to 48 teams, that is 12 groups of 4, means 104 total matches. That is an insane amount of football to keep up with. The inclusion of the round of 32, so that's an additional knockout stage. So you have the group stages, the top 2 teams plus 8 third place teams go through to the round of 32, which is a knockout round. Then you have the round of 16. Then there's the quarterfinals, then the semi-finals, and then the final. So this round of 32 adds an extra knockout game, making the path to the trophy longer and more physically grueling. If something grueling, it means it's tough, it's demanding, it's exhausting. Getting to the final, then, is like winning the World Cup, and then you have to win the World Cup again. If you get to the final, you will have won as many games as it would have taken to get to the final last year, and then you have to actually win again. So it's like 2 World Cups happening at the same time is kind of like how it feels, you know? And then the winners of those 2 World Cups play each other to actually win the World Cup. The Last Dance Paradox. This could be the final World Cup for icons like Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo's. That's the last dance thing. This is their last dance. But it's also the arrival of the Yamal era. Spain's Lamine Yamal is predicted to be the breakout global superstar of the tournament. And I'm probably just going to prove with this episode, as I go on to talk about various players from around the world, that I can't pronounce foreign names correctly, but you already knew that. What about Ronaldo versus Luke? Were you aware of this? Ronaldo versus Luke. Here's a side point on the subject of Ronaldo. Who will get to 1,000 goals? Who will get to 1,000 first? Is it Cristiano with his aim of reaching 1,000 career goals? Or is it me, Luke, from Luke's English Podcast, with my aim of reaching 1,000 podcast episodes? Who's going to win? This is perhaps the most dramatic and exciting competition running at the moment, isn't it? The rise of the middle class. So with more spots available, teams like Norway, led by Erling Haaland, who runs like an ostrich, Morocco and Japan, teams like this are no longer considered to be underdogs, but legitimate threats to reach the quarterfinals. No, that's not a thing. Imagine if they introduced quarterfinals. What are they? I don't know. That's where the whole game has to be played from the corner post. No, these teams are no longer considered underdogs, but legitimate threats to reach the quarterfinals or beyond. So there are lots of these teams, that sort of mid-tier teams, that actually could go all the way. Tactical adaptation to travel. Travelling is going to be a big part of this. Teams will have to manage massive travel distances between Vancouver, Mexico City and New York. This is a huge area across which this tournament is being carried out. So squad rotation, that means changing players, will be more important than ever, because there's a certain exhaustion factor in travelling so far between games, and also differences in climate. The weather will be very, very hot in some parts, and also altitude. Certainly games played in Mexico will be played at a higher altitude, and some players and teams won't be very accustomed to this. And that will be an advantage for some, disadvantage for others. Also, there's the political situation in the USA, which could affect things. We will see. I'm going to talk about that more in a bit. And also, there's the Iran situation. Iran are qualified. They qualified for the World Cup this year. They're in one of the groups, but they probably won't be competing for obvious reasons. So that's going to throw a spanner in the works, potentially. Let's talk about some new rules for the World Cup this year. There have been some new rules introduced. First of all, anti-time wasting adventures. Time wasting, this is when players do lots of really annoying things when their team is winning in order to waste time. So they slow everything down. They take a million years to do a throw-in. Goalkeepers take forever to kick the ball out. Everything takes ages. Time wasting. It's one of the most annoying things about football. So these rules are the most aggressive changes to the game's flow, targeting the dark arts of slowing down play, or shithousery as it's also known. Did you know about the word shithousery? This is a word that refers to behaviour on the football pitch that is dishonest, in bad faith, borderline cheating, and otherwise known as gamesmanship. Shithousery, for example, time wasting or diving or hassling the referee or arguing or doing other kinds of sort of borderline cheating. So these rules have been brought in to try to reduce these things. So there's the 5-second countdown for both throw-ins and goal kicks. That's where the goalkeeper puts the ball down and kicks the ball out. These are throw-ins and goal kicks. Referees will initiate a 5-second visual countdown. I suppose that means holding out their hand and going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I suppose. A 5-second visual countdown if they believe a player is deliberately delaying the restart. So if the referee thinks the player is deliberately wasting time, they will start this 5-second countdown. If the ball isn't in play by the end of the countdown, the throw-in is awarded to the opponent, and a delayed goal kick results in a corner kick for the opponent. That is a big advantage. If the goalie takes too long to deliver his goal kick, then the opposing team gets a corner. That's a really big deal. And throw-ins, basically, if you take too long, then the other team gets the throw-in instead. Timed substitutions, so they're trying to crack down on substitutions taking too long. When a substitution is signalled, the departing player, that's the player leaving the pitch, has exactly 10 seconds to exit the field. If they exceed this, if they take more than 10 seconds, their replacement is forced to wait on the sideline for 1 minute of live play before they are allowed to enter the pitch. So that means essentially your team has just 10 men for about a minute if you don't leave when you're substituted within a 10-second window. I quite like these changes, I have to say. I think it's a good way of tightening things up and cracking down on annoying time-wasting behaviour. I think this is good. Off-field medical treatment. Any player requiring on-field medical assessment or treatment for an injury must leave the field and stay off for 1 minute after play restarts. So someone goes down, they need medical attention, they get taken off the field. They have to stay off the field for a minute after the play restarts, preventing players from stopping the game for minor knocks. A minor knock is like when you just get bumped or kicked a little bit in order to break the opponent's momentum. Again, this is a good thing. So if someone pretends to be fouled and they roll around on the floor holding their leg or holding their face, they have to leave the pitch and they have to stay off the pitch for a minute, essentially leaving their team with 10 men for that period before they can come back on. Hopefully that's going to stop players pretending to be injured in order to waste time. I think that's all good. And I wonder if we will see a goal that comes from a corner kick awarded through time wasting. Will we see that? VAR, of course, assistant video assistant referee, VAR, has been expanded and it now covers other things. So the video assistant referees, that's the referees who look at camera footage, playback footage, will now have a broader remit to correct clear and obvious errors that were previously outside their jurisdiction. So their remit, their duty, their job description is that they can now intervene in more cases than they previously could. For example, second yellow cards. VAR can now intervene to review a red card that arises from a clearly incorrect second yellow card. So you know that when a player is given a yellow card, if they get a second yellow card, that automatically results in a red card and they get sent off. But VAR can basically check that second yellow card. If it wasn't a genuine yellow card, then VAR can overturn a red card decision and let the player stay on the field. Mistaken identity. VAR can now rectify situations where the referee cards the wrong player, introducing cross-team identity confusion. Does that happen very often? Do referees often give a card to the wrong person? Well, VAR can help prevent that now. Corner kick errors. VAR can now inform the referee if a corner kick was awarded incorrectly, provided the review is immediate and does not delay the restart of play. So in those situations where the ball has gone out and it's not clear who touched it last, was it the defender or the attacker, and a corner kick was awarded incorrectly, VAR can now overturn a decision like that, or can at least tell the referee. And I think the referee still gets final choice, but it's hard for a referee to overturn a VAR decision. So previously, at the beginning of VAR, it was purely goal line technology to make sure a ball did or did not cross the line, and slowly but surely VAR has kind of crept into more and more refereeing decisions. It's probably good, it probably is good, as long as it doesn't take away authority from referees. It's probably good as a way of basically cleaning up the game and preventing things like the Frank Lampard disallowed goal and the Jeff Hurst allowed goal injustices, basically. Additional regulatory changes. Referee body cameras. Competitions now have the option to permit referees to wear chest or head-mounted cameras, giving broadcasters and fans a unique first-person perspective of on-field interactions. That would be interesting. I hope we get to see referee body camera footage. That would be really cool because, when a referee is given a penalty, it'd be interesting to see all these players rushing towards the referee, and we might see the kind of abuse that referees get. Will that ever change? In other sports like rugby, for example, the referees are treated with so much more respect. And if you shout at referees or even sort of bump into referees like we've seen in the past, that would just get you instantly sent off. So maybe these changes might help to change the culture of the game a little bit for the better. The advantage rule. If a referee plays advantage for an offence that denied an obvious goal-scoring opportunity. What? If referee plays advantage for an offence that denied an obvious goal-scoring opportunity and a goal is subsequently scored, the offending player will not be cautioned. So basically, there's an attacker running towards the goal. A defender comes in and fouls the attacker, kicks him without kicking the ball. But the attacker recovers and gets up and scores. That defender who committed a yellow card foul doesn't get cautioned because the goal was scored, and that's a punishment in itself. Okay. Right, so let me now talk about every single one of the 48 teams competing in this World Cup. Will I talk about them in detail? No, I'm not going to talk about them in detail yet, but let me mention them and then I'll talk about them in more detail after I've talked about some political stuff. Okay, so these are just the teams, and I'll go on to talk about every single one of these teams in detail later in the episode in terms of their expected success and general level. So, Group A, Mexico, South Africa, South Korea, Czech Republic. Now, shout out to you if you hear your country listed in this section. Mexico, the favourites, one of the host nations. South Africa, South Korea, Czech Republic. That is a strong group. I'll talk about these groups in more detail in a few moments. Group B is Canada, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Qatar and Switzerland. And you can think about who are your favourites in each group. And who are the sort of dark horses or the underdogs or the wild cards. Group C, we have Brazil, Morocco, Haiti and Scotland. I think there are two clear favourites in that group. Group D is the United States, Paraguay, Australia and Turkey. Group E is Germany. Hello, this is Luke from the future, just interrupting here, because the way that I pronounce the next team the way that I pronounce it, you're not going to hear it because I'm removing it, because it was completely wrong. But the next team is Curacao. That's Curacao. Yeah, it's their first World Cup and it's pronounced Curacao. And now I have to go through this entire episode, and every time I say it wrong, I'll overdub it with me proudly saying Curacao. Okay. Ivory Coast and Ecuador. Group F, Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, Tunisia. That's a tough group, isn't it? That's going to be an interesting group because they're all pretty strong. Group G, Belgium, Egypt, Iran, New Zealand. We don't know what's going to happen with Iran. I mean, I think they're not going to compete, but who's going to replace them? I don't know. New Zealand are in there. That's rare, isn't it? And Curacao as well is you don't see them in the World Cup very often. I think maybe it's their first tournament. Group H, Spain, Cape Verde, another tiny little team, Saudi Arabia and Uruguay. Uruguay, a strong team. Spain, obviously, the number one favourite. Group I is France, Senegal, Iraq and Norway. Could be a tough group. Senegal will be a tough opponent for France. Group J, Argentina, Algeria, Austria and Jordan. Group K, Portugal, Democratic Republic of Congo, Uzbekistan, Colombia. And Group L, England, Croatia, Ghana, Panama. Don't underestimate Panama. That's a strong group. So the tournament begins on June the 11th, 2026 and concludes with the final on July the 19th, 2026. Before I go into discussing every detail, every club, every team in detail, let me go through some off-the-pitch talking points at this moment. So logistics and climate are dominating the headlines outside the stadium. So I've talked about what's going to happen on the pitch. Let's talk about all the rest of the stuff outside of the actual games being played in the stadiums. So, first of all, the climate risk. Recent reports have highlighted that 10 of the 16 host cities, especially Houston, Dallas and Monterey, may face extreme heat. There's significant debate about whether matches will require cooling breaks or even late-night kickoffs to prevent player safety. This is going to be interesting. The cooling breaks thing would certainly suit the advertisers, because if they take a break halfway through each half so the players can cool down, drink water and stuff, of course we'll be going to an ad break. I'm sure that's what the Americans want. But maybe it's necessary to help the players cool down. I remember in the 1994 World Cup, there was a big argument with, was it Jack Charlton, the manager of Ireland, who got very upset because his players weren't allowed to drink water during the game. Logistical complexity. This is the first time 3 nations are co-hosting. Issues regarding visas, border crossings and fan transportation across a massive geographic area are the primary concerns for organisers. Time difference as well, and a lot of matches in the middle of the night. There'll be quite a lot of red-eyed footy fans in Europe and maybe other parts of the world. I think the organisers have tried to schedule games at appropriate times for most fans, but some games happen very late in the evening or even in the middle of the night. Commercial giant. This is projected to be the most profitable World Cup in history. The North American market is expecting to shatter attendance and broadcasting records. Also, the playing field itself, turf versus grass. Many NFL stadiums in the US use artificial turf. That's kind of like fake grass, but FIFA requires natural grass. The technology used to temporarily install and maintain grass pitches in indoor or multi-purpose stadiums is a major technical talking point. Imagine trying to replace AstroTurf in a stadium with a proper grass pitch. That would be very expensive and difficult. Politics and controversy. The 2026 World Cup is shaping up to be one of the most politically charged sporting events in history. While the pitch is ready, the off-pitch landscape is dominated by a complex web of US immigration policies, geopolitical friction, and growing calls for boycotts. As of April 2026, which is when I prepared this particular section, but I think it's still up to date. Here is the state of the political and geopolitical situation. We start with the visa wall and border control. The primary controversy involves the Trump administration's hardline immigration stance, which critics argue contradicts the open nature of a World Cup. It's a World Cup, right? Everyone's supposed to be able to take part. It's, a global tournament where everyone's free to take part. But Trump's United States has a lot of travel bans and travel restrictions for many countries. A major travel ban currently affects 19 countries fully and 20 countries partially. This directly impacts qualified teams like Iran, Senegal, Ivory Coast and Haiti, whose fans and potentially some non-athlete staff may be denied entry. The $15,000 visa bond. In a move that sparked global outrage, the US has introduced a requirement for high-risk visitors from 50 nations to pose a $15,000 bond to ensure that they do not overstay their visas. So they have to pay this money up front, which they will get back if they leave the country before their visa has expired. So they're concerned that people are going to use this as an opportunity to sneak into the country. But if they do that, they'll lose their $15,000 bond. That's an insane amount of money to have to put up front just in order to get into the country. The FIFA pass system to mitigate these issues. I mean, going back to that visa bond thing, I mean, that's very exclusionary, isn't it? Anyway, the FIFA Pass system. To mitigate these issues, a FIFA Pass was launched to prioritise visa interviews for ticket holders. However, it does not guarantee a visa, and many fans still face 500-plus day wait times at US consulates. What? So the FIFA Pass thing is sounds like it's just something in name only, and fans still potentially have to wait insane amounts of time at US consulates to get their visas granted. It's basically big barriers to getting into the country to actually see these games, financial barriers and time constraints and just other legal barriers. ICE as well, right? Immigration and Customs Enforcement. These are the sort of immigration control officers who are recruited often without a lot of training. Yes, it's pretty dodgy, and they march around the streets rounding up immigrants, and they are kind of very heavy-handed, quite frightening really, almost like paramilitary groups sent out to round up immigrants, and there's been a lot of violence, and it's very controversial, and civil rights groups have expressed alarm over the potential for ICE to conduct enforcement actions near fan fests and stadiums. You know, these places outside of stadiums where fans can gather and watch on a big screen. Civil rights groups are worried that ICE will use these events as a way to round up immigrants, and this could deter even legal immigrants within the US from attending them. Also, geopolitical tensions and scandals. Beyond the borders, several international conflicts are bleeding into the tournament's preparations. There's the Israel-Gaza boycott movement. There's a significant movement, particularly in Spain, threatening to boycott the tournament if Israel is allowed to participate. Advocacy groups in Canada have also called on Canada Soccer to refuse hosting matches under these conditions. The FIFA Peace Prize controversy. Did you hear about this? FIFA President Gianni Infantino recently awarded President Trump the FIFA Peace Prize, a move that many international observers viewed as an attempt to ensure political cooperation despite the restrictive travel policies. I mean, that is objectively ridiculous, giving Trump a peace prize, isn't it? But I think this is probably a sign of like Trump's ego, really, and it just shows the things you have to do in order to gain favor from President Trump. You need to tell him he's the most amazing person ever. You need to give him a special prize, and then he will, when you say nice things about him, you rub his ego, and then he's more likely to want to do business with you. Either that, or Infantino is genuinely just aligned politically with Trump and is a nutter and is giving him a peace prize. I don't know what, but I think it just shows that in order to gain favour with Trump, you've got to do all this stuff. But it's just an attempt to ensure political cooperation. Then there's the current situation with Iran. Iran is currently slated to compete in Group G alongside Belgium, Egypt and New Zealand. But despite their qualification, there is significant ongoing speculation regarding their actual participation. Will they come? Will they be allowed to come? Due to the ongoing conflict in the region, there's heightened concern about travel restrictions and the logistical ability of the team to participate in a tournament hosted by the United States. That's according to CBS Sports. The official stance, according to Anadolu Ajansi, I guess that's a press agency. As of late May 2026, both FIFA and the Football Federation Islamic Republic of Iran have publicly stated that they are proceeding as planned. FIFA President Gianni Infantino has confirmed discussions with US leadership, asserting that the Iranian team is welcome to compete. I don't know why I got the impression that they weren't going to compete, but I guess it's still an unknown. But should a withdrawal occur, that means if Iran withdraws, if they don't take part, if they come out, it would be a logistical nightmare for FIFA because the tournament format relies on the 48-team bracket. A last-minute vacancy in Group G would force FIFA to make an unprecedented decision regarding whether to grant a spot to a replacement nation such as Iraq or proceed with a 3-team group, which could disrupt the integrity of the best third-place knockout qualification. Okay. Also, economic and social risks, inbound tourism slump. That means a reduction in the number of people coming into the US. US inbound tourism fell by 5.4% in 2025, and analysts warn that if the visa restrictions aren't eased for the summer, the projected $1.24 million international visitors, that's visitors worth $1.24 million, may not materialise, leading to a massive financial shortfall for host cities. So that means basically that we expect about $1.24 million worth of international visitors to come. But if those visa restrictions aren't lifted, then they might not come. And obviously that's going to be a huge financial shortfall for host cities who are expecting to sell tickets. Host city disputes. Some local US officials have raised concerns about the unfunded mandates of World Cup security. So who's going to pay for the security? There are ongoing disputes between the Department of Homeland Security and local municipalities regarding who pays for the massive policing presence required. For most, the 2026 World Cup is an unavoidable event. Even the most cynical fans are caught up in the uncertainty of a tournament that defies traditional expectations. There's a palpable sense that because of the new bloated format, the classic path to the final has been erased. Nobody truly knows what will happen, which is exactly what fans secretly love. Ultimately, the fan experience in 2026 will likely be defined by a tug of war, the joy of football and the global community versus the frustration of navigating a massive, commercialised and potentially exhausting tournament structure. So again, I want your comments as we approach the kickoff. Are you leaning more towards the excited to watch everything camp, or are you sceptical about the changes to the format? What do you think, everyone? Who do you think are the favourites and why? What do you think of your country's chances if your country is competing? What do you think about England? What do you think is going to happen? Leave your comments in the comments section. But now it is time for this bit. Every team in the tournament discussed in terms of expected success and general level. Let me now talk about every single team, starting with Group A, Mexico. As co-hosts, Mexico is the clear favourite to top the group. The weight of home field expectation is immense, and while their form has been somewhat inconsistent, the support at the Estadio Azteca and favourable draw make them the team most likely to progress. So they're the favourites for Group A. Their success will largely depend on handling the pressure of the tournament opener. How will they deal with the pressure of starting the tournament? And then maintaining consistency across the group stage. South Korea enters with a strong history of qualification, 11 consecutive appearances, but their current level is a subject of debate due to injuries to key players and recent inconsistent club form for several stars. They remain a technically refined side capable of controlling the ball, but they may struggle against the physicality of teams like Czechia. They're considered a strong candidate for a round of 32 spot. So Czechia then, otherwise known as the Czech Republic, while they entered the tournament via a difficult playoff route, which I think involved a penalty shootout to guarantee themselves a place, a lot of drama, Czechia is viewed as a dark horse in this group. Their general level is defined by physical strength, a direct style of play, and aerial superiority. That means they're good in the air, good at set pieces, corners, free kicks, good at jumping and getting up and getting ahead on the ball. Having not qualified since 2006, they are highly motivated, and their battle-hardened nature makes them a tough matchup for any opponent in Group A. Then we have South Africa. Returning to the world stage, Bafana Bafana is the group's underdog. They are recognised for bringing energy and flair to their matches. While they face a steep climb to advance, they are fully capable of playing the spoiler role. I mean, spoiling it for someone else, particularly given their motivation to prove themselves after a long absence from the finals. All right, so that's Group A. Moving swiftly forwards to Group B, we have Canada, Bosnia and Herzegovina, Qatar and Switzerland. So let's start with Switzerland. Entering as the clear group favourite with roughly a 55% implied probability of winning the group, the Swiss are the gold standard here. They've reached the round of 16 in each of the last 3 World Cups and boast a strong, experienced spine. That's like core part of their team. The spine is actually your backbone on a person's body, but the spine of a team would be the key players through the middle of the team. Led by captain Granit, how do you say that? Xhaka? Their general level is high, grounded in technical discipline and proven tournament pedigree. There's that word pedigree again. Canada. Expectations are high for the co-hosts, led by coach Jesse Marsh. This is arguably the deepest Canadian squad in history. While their goal is to reach the knockout stage for the first time, they must avoid the defensive lapses that have plagued them in recent matches. So apparently they've got holes in their defence or little problems where they sort of fail to deliver the normal defensive quality that they should have. These are lapses, moments where they fail. These have plagued them in recent matches, so they seem to have holes in their defence. Bosnia and Herzegovina, viewed as a tier below Switzerland, but neck and neck with Canada in betting markets. That's at an equal level as Canada, neck and neck. Like in horse racing, if horses are neck and neck, it means they're running at exactly the same level. Canada are returning to the World Cup for the first time since 2014. Their campaign will likely centre on the veteran leadership of Edin Dzeko. They are considered a tricky opponent, but their lack of recent experience on the global stage makes their progression less certain. So that's Bosnia and Herzegovina. Qatar then, coming off a difficult qualifying path and a challenging 2022 tournament, Qatar enters with the lowest expectations in the group. They're looking to secure their first ever points at a World Cup, so they need to draw or win a game to just win some points, but are widely viewed as the least likely to advance. So not very promising outlook for Qatar, but maybe they'll score a point. Who knows? Then Group C, Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, Scotland. So Brazil enters as the overwhelming favourite, not just for the group, but as one of the primary contenders to win the entire tournament. Their depth of talent, from established superstars to young emerging forwards, is unmatched in this group. Their success is expected to be near total, with the team aiming to secure maximum points to gain momentum for the knockout stages. So everyone expects Brazil to just win every game in their group. Morocco, following their historic run in 2022, Morocco has cemented itself as a top-tier global competitor. They are the clear second favourite in this group. Their squad is composed of players competing in top European leagues, and they bring a high level of tactical organisation that makes them difficult for even the strongest teams to break down. Okay, nice language. To break down a team. Tactical organisation. Scotland. Scotland represents the wild card of the group. Under their current management, they've developed a strong defensive-minded structure and a lethal counter-attacking threat. While they're likely to struggle against the individual quality of Brazil, their match against Morocco will likely be the decisive battle for the second qualification spot. Plus, they've got Mel Gibson. Then we've got Haiti. While they've qualified on merit, Haiti faces a daunting challenge against 3 experienced and high-ranking opponents. They are expected to be the most open team, likely looking to play with freedom, but they will need a near-perfect defensive performance to secure points in this group. So they're an open team, they play with freedom, but that probably means that their defence is also left a little bit open. Group D. We've got a lot of groups to get through. Let's keep moving. I'm trying to keep the pace up here. Group D, United States, Paraguay, Australia, Turkey. Let's start with the United States. As co-hosts, the US is expected to top this group. Their squad, featuring players with significant experience in European leagues, is deeper than in previous cycles. They will benefit immensely from the home crowd, and expectations are pinned on them to navigate the group stage comfortably. Okay, so we will see. Paraguay, after a tactical overhaul in 2024, so they've totally changed their tactics, their strategy, Paraguay has become one of the most difficult teams to score against. Under Gustavo Alfaro, they rely on a compact 4-4-2, so 4 at the back, 4 midfield, 2 up front, focusing on clean sheets. That means when they don't concede any goals. If you have a clean sheet, it means you have your opposing team don't score any goals against you. That's a clean sheet. And intense pressing. So we've talked about that already, what that means. While they may not be the flashiest team, their defensive resilience makes them the most likely contender to join the US in the knockout stages. It's true, you don't just get through by winning and scoring goals. You get through by not conceding any goals. That is a great strength. Turkey remains a volatile but highly talented side. They possess the individual quality to break down organised defences, though they can be vulnerable to counter-attacks. They're expected to be the main challenger to Paraguay for the second spot, with their match against the South Americans likely being a defining moment for the group. So Turkey versus Paraguay. Who else was it? Scotland versus Morocco. These could be interesting games. Australia, the Socceroos. Do you see what they did there? The Australians, Socceroos, Kangaroos, Socceroos. That's their nickname. They have a well-earned reputation for exceeding expectations through sheer work rate and collective discipline. While they may be considered the underdog in terms of raw individual talent, their ability to frustrate higher-ranked opponents, often by making matches ugly, makes them a team that no one in Group D will want to underestimate. What do you mean? That's from carlobag.eu. Their ability to frustrate opponents by making matches ugly makes them a team that no one will want to underestimate. What do you mean ugly? What's that supposed to mean? I don't know what that means. Anyway, Group E, Germany enters the group as the overwhelming favourite to finish first. They possess a deep talent pool, a wealth of tournament experience, and a professional consistency that usually sees them handle underdog opponents effectively. Anything less than a top two finish would be considered a major upset. Of course, Ecuador. They are widely expected to be the main challenger to Germany for the top spot. Ecuador has become an incredibly disciplined and difficult team to break down in recent years, often utilising a high-intensity, physical style of play that causes problems for even the most technical European sides. Then we have Ivory Coast. The Ivorians are a wild card in this group. They are arguably the most talented team among the non-favourites, boasting players who compete in top-tier leagues. Their success will depend on whether they can match the tactical discipline of Germany and Ecuador. If they play to their potential, they are fully capable of securing a place in the knockout rounds. Then we've got Curaçao. They are making their historic first ever appearance at a World Cup and enters as the definite underdog, managed by veteran tactician Dick Advocaat. Is he an avocado? He's an advocaat. They play a very organised and disciplined style. While they're not expected to advance, their presence is one of the most inspiring stories of this tournament, and they will be looking to frustrate their opponents and secure a historic result. Group F is the Netherlands, Japan, Sweden and Tunisia. A tough group, I think. The Netherlands then enter as the clear favourites to top the group. They consistently produce world-class talent and have the structural maturity to handle the pressure of the opening stages. Their possession-based approach will likely see them control the tempo in most of their group matches. That's the rhythm. Right. Japan is widely regarded as one of the most improved nations in global football and surely one of the dark horses of this tournament. With a roster filled with players competing in top-tier European leagues, they are no longer just a dark horse, but a legitimate threat to top teams. England were beaten by Japan just a few weeks ago. Their match against the Netherlands will likely be a highlight of the group stage and will likely determine who finishes first. Sweden is the physical hurdle of Group F. They're known for their defensive solidity and ability to dominate set-piece situations. Again, good in the air. Actually, I just wanted to stop here for a second and explain the phrase set-piece situations, because this is obviously a learning English podcast, right? So I'm here to help you learn English. So a set piece is one of those phrases that's used a lot when talking about football, and it refers to either a free kick or a corner. Does a throw-in count as a set piece? Could be, but normally it's a free kick or a corner, probably like a long curling free kick into the box, right? A corner to the far post. These things are set pieces. Okay, so certain teams are better at set pieces, usually the ones that are good in the air, right? So that's what set pieces means. Free kicks and corners. Which can frustrate more technical opponents like the Netherlands or Japan, who like to play the ball on the ground. Their success depends on their ability to grind out results against the high-intensity play of their rivals. So you're going to get technical teams like Japan and the Netherlands playing the ball on the ground, but Sweden are very tough and very good in the air, very physical. And so will they be able to try to stop that more technical style against them? Tunisia, while they face a very difficult path, Tunisia is not a side to be overlooked. We shouldn't ignore them. They are historically difficult to break down and often rely on a counter-attacking style that can exploit teams pushing too many players forward. They will likely be the spoiler of the group, aiming to snatch points that could complicate the standings for the three favourites. Tough group. Group G, Belgium, Egypt, Iran maybe, and New Zealand. Belgium, as the clear favourites, the Red Devils, are expected to top the group with a squad led by veterans like Kevin De Bruyne and Romelu Lukaku and managed by Rudi Garcia. They possess significantly more global tournament pedigree than the other teams in the group. Their objective is to secure the top spot to earn a favourable matchup in the round of 32. So they want to finish top so they get a easier team in the first knockout round. Egypt, often considered the strongest challenger for the second qualification spot. The Pharaohs bring a high level of intensity to their matches. The group stage focus for them will be to break their historical winless streak at the World Cup and rely on the individual brilliance of stars like Mo Salah. Iran, Team Melli, are a tactically disciplined side. Why can't I speak properly today? I suppose I'm just so excited that I can't speak. They have consistently proven difficult to break down in previous World Cups. While they have never advanced past the group stage, their matches, particularly against Egypt, will likely decide who claims the second automatic knockout spot. And then New Zealand, the All Whites, that's what they're known as, the rugby team of the All Blacks, because they play in black. I guess the New Zealand team play in white. The All Blacks are maybe the best rugby team historically in the world, or certainly one of the best. The All Whites, the football team, not so much. They are the outsiders in this group, but they carry the pride of being the only representative from Oceania, that whole part of the world. Their general level is lower than the European and African counterparts, but they enter with a focus on organisation and defensive stability. Even a single point would be viewed as a major success for them. That's what FIFA has said, and I wrote shade FIFA throwing shade on New Zealand. Even a single point would be considered a huge success for them. Yeah. Group H, HIJKL, 5 more groups to go, and we're nearly at the end of the episode. Spain, Cape Verde, Saudi Arabia, Uruguay. Spain then enters as the clear favourite to top the group, boasting world-class technical quality and a disciplined system under Luis de la Fuente. They are expected to navigate the group stage with ease. However, they will be looking to break a string of round 16 exits that have marked their recent World Cup history. Apparently they've been knocked out in the second round recently quite a lot, but surely they'll go further than that this time. Uruguay, as a storied football nation, meaning a nation with a long story in terms of football, Uruguay is the primary challenger for the top spot. Under the management of Marco Bielsa, they have embraced a high-energy Bielsa ball style of play that is both physically demanding and tactically sophisticated. Their matchup against Spain is one of the most anticipated games of the opening round. That will be exciting. Saudi Arabia, the Green Falcons, are a seasoned side and with a well-earned reputation for disrupting global powers. Having qualified as winners of their AFC group, they bring a wealth of tournament experience. They're expected to be the most stubborn opponent in the group, focusing on defensive organisation to challenge Spain and Uruguay for a qualification spot. Then we've got Cape Verde, the Blue Sharks, are the tournament's feel-good story, making their first ever appearance at the World Cup finals. They qualified by topping a challenging CAF group that included Cameroon. While they are the clear underdogs, their ability to navigate a difficult qualification path suggests they have the talent to surprise teams that underestimate them. Then we've got France, Senegal, Iraq and Norway in Group I. France enters as the clear favourite to win the group and is widely viewed as a candidate to win the entire tournament with an embarrassment of riches. There's a nice phrase. When you have so many good strengths to your advantage, you like tons of strengths, you have an embarrassment of riches. With an embarrassment of riches in talent, including stars like Kylian Mbappe and a deep bench. They're expected to dominate possession and control the tempo. Anything less than a first-place finish would be considered a significant upset. Senegal, the Lions of Teranga, are a robust, tactically mature side. They have a strong record of success in major tournaments and possess the athleticism to compete with anyone. Their opener against France is heavy with historical significance, a rematch of the 2002 World Cup shocker, and will be a major test of their ability to secure a spot in the knockout round. And Norway. This is a milestone tournament for Norway, marking their first appearance in 28 years. Expectations are high, largely driven by the presence of Erling Haaland and Martin Odegaard. They're technically sound and dangerous on the counter-attack, making them the primary rival to Senegal for the second qualifying spot. Their match against Senegal is widely expected to be a must-win for both teams. Then we've got Iraq listed here, but I thought they were potentially going to be given the place that Iran isn't taking. I don't know. Anyway, under the guidance of manager Graham Arnold, Iraq has reached the global stage after a 40-year wait. While they are the clear outsiders in a group of established giants, they are a disciplined, well-coached unit. Their goal is to prove they belong on this stage. They will likely look to frustrate opponents and capitalise on set-piece opportunities. Are you still listening, listeners? Are you still with me? JKL, 3 more groups left. Have I mentioned your country? Which one of these seems to be a standout for you? And I'm also looking for those mid-tier teams, second place teams in each group that could be dangerous. These are the teams I'm interested in as much as any other. Group J, Argentina, Algeria, Austria, Jordan. Argentina, as the reigning champions, Argentina is the overwhelming favourite to win the group. Their squad depth, experience under pressure and tactical flexibility under Lionel Scaloni, or is that Lionel Scaloni, make them one of the most formidable teams in the entire tournament. They are expected to secure the top spot comfortably, though they will be wary of the unpredictability of tournament football. Austria is arguably the primary challenger to Argentina for the group lead, or at least the strongest candidate for the second qualification spot. They are a well-drilled side that relies on aggressive pressing systems and vertical attacking play. Their ability to force turnovers makes them dangerous against almost any opponent. Their ability to force turnovers, meaning through sheer force they can switch a game from, I guess, being in a losing position to being in a winning position. I think that's what that means. Algeria brings significant flair. That means like sort of technical ability, impressive skill and speed to the group. They are a team that thrives on quick transitions and creative attacking patterns. While they have had to battle through a tough qualification path, they possess enough individual quality to threaten both Austria and Argentina, making them a major contender to advance. And then Jordan. Making their first ever World Cup appearance, Jordan is the group's inspiring underdog. Their general level of play is lower than their group peers, so they will likely focus on defensive organisation and maintaining a low block to frustrate their opponents. Basically, they're going to park the bus, the team bus in front of the goal. That's an expression. To park the bus means to basically bring all of your players right into your penalty area and make a big pack of players to essentially block the goal. Their goal is to prove their quality on the global stage, and they will look to secure a historic result in one of their 3 matches. Then Group K, Portugal, Democratic Republic of Congo, Uzbekistan, Colombia. Portugal as the top seed, meaning the top placed team. Portugal is widely expected to win the group. They possess a world-class squad that blends veteran leadership with emerging talent. Their ability to control games against diverse styles will be their greatest asset, and they are considered legitimate title contenders who are looking to make a deep run. Colombia enters as the primary challenger to Portugal with a high-energy technical style and key stars like Luis Diaz and James Rodriguez. They have one of the most exciting attacking pipelines in South America. They're expected to be the most entertaining team in the group, and a high-scoring draw against Portugal could well determine who tops the table. The Democratic Republic of Congo, then. The Leopards are one of the most compelling stories of the tournament. Returning to the World Cup for the first time since 1974, they are a physical, athletic side that excels in transition. Their match against Colombia is expected to be a high-intensity battle that will likely decide who claims the second automatic knockout spot. Uzbekistan, as the first ever Central Asian nation to qualify for a World Cup. Well done, guys. Uzbekistan enters with immense national pride. While they are the clear underdogs in terms of tournament experience, they're a well-disciplined and well-organised side that has invested heavily in infrastructure and youth development. They will look to play spoiler, meaning sort of like spoil someone else's chances, and prove that their qualification was no fluke. There's a nice word. A fluke is something that's done purely by luck. Yes. Group L, then. We have England, Croatia, Ghana, Panama. England enters the tournament as one of the favourites to win the entire competition. With a squad overflowing with talent from the Premier League and abroad, they're expected to dominate Group L. Their focus will be on clinical finishing, we're talking about Harry Kane basically, and defensive stability to ensure a deep run into the knockout stages. Croatia, often referred to as a tournament team, Croatia consistently outperforms expectations due to their elite midfield technicality and mental toughness. England is viewed as the group's headline clash, which will likely determine the winner of the group. Is Luka Modric playing? Yes, he is. I've just checked. This from the BBC. Veteran midfielder, very left-footed, and Luke from Luke's English podcast lookalike, Luka Modric, has been named in Croatia's squad for the World Cup and is expected to recover from a fractured cheekbone in time for the tournament. So he's got a fractured cheekbone, which could be a huge disadvantage because we all know how important the cheekbone is when playing football. Ghana, the Black Stars, are the group's primary disruptor, who might disrupt the chances for other teams. They have a history of performing well on the world stage and possess a squad that is physically aggressive and dangerous in transition. I think what we mean by in transition is going from defence to attack. So it's kind of like the counter-attack. Their match against England in New Jersey is highly anticipated, and they will be looking to secure points that could help them capitalise on the expanded format for third place advancement. Then we have Panama, making their second ever World Cup appearance. Panama is the underdog, but they have shown significant progress in recent years. While expectations for them to advance are lower, they are a compact and well-drilled team. They will view every match as an opportunity to secure their first ever World Cup win. So listeners, I'm going to ask you again, what do you think? Which team is the favourite? Which one is the dark horse? Which one's the underdog? Who are you looking forward to watching? What particular games are you looking forward to seeing? Will there be upsets? What about the new 48 team structure? How's that going to affect the way this World Cup goes? But that is it for this episode. That is it for this World Cup Megaramble. I will talk to you again about football next time, probably during the competition when I do the next one of these bonus World Cup episodes. I'll wait until the competition has started. I don't know at what point, maybe somewhere after the round of 32, maybe I can do the next one of these where I report on what's going on. Maybe with a guest, we will see. But let me know if you've enjoyed this bonus World Cup episode today. New normal episode coming on Monday, and it is a long one. So you've got that to look forward to as well. Busy times for Luke's English podcast at the moment. Oh, and if you enjoyed this and you want to hear me talk more about the World Cup, if you want a lovely, warm World Cup bath in terms of podcast listening, check out episode 532, which was called A History of the World Cup. This is my History of the World Cup, recorded for episode 532. A detailed history of what happened at every single World Cup, with quite a lot of jokes included. So check that out if you want more football oriented stuff and you've got World Cup fever. Episode 532, you'll find it in your episode list wherever you listen to this podcast. I don't think it's on YouTube, but if you subscribe to Luke's English podcast through an app on your phone, you will find episode 532. Otherwise, look at my website, teacherluke.co.uk/episodes. That's the episode archive. You will find it there. But until then, it's just time for me to say goodbye. Bye, 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 bye.